Welcome back. I'm Donna Anderson, and this is day 3 of No Strings Attached. So if you have been doing days 1 and 2, then you know what we've done already. We've done some hand puppets. We did some finger puppets. Today we're going to do a scepter. I'm going to tell you how to make some clay. Now, this is the clay that I've already made. But the way I did this was I took 2 cups of flour, 3/4 cup of salt, and 3/4 cup of warm water. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag, all of those ingredients. Now I double bagged it like this, just in case when I was mixing it, if it broke, it wouldn't be all over the place, because your mom wouldn't like that. So if you'll put that one inside, and you don't even have to seal the one inside, but then push all the air out of it and seal this one, then you've got all of your ingredients inside. And if you'll just start kneading it, just with your fingers to mix it together, you can move it around inside the bag, and you can pull the bag away from it, move it up and get some more of it until you get it all mixed together. Okay, so what we're going to do today is a scepter. Now, if you don't know what a scepter is, if you've seen a king in maybe old-time movies with Knights of the Round Table, they have a scepter that they hold kind of maybe more like this, that they hold, and that shows that they're the king and that they're in charge. Well, they also used to have people who would amuse them, and they would be jugglers and jesters. And a jester or a joker would make fun of everybody and of the king, and he would have his own little scepter. And he would maybe have his face on it, or have a face on it that would not be a pretty face. This is not a pretty face, is it? So what we're going to do is we're going to take what's left over. I'm going to put him over here for a second. We're going to take what's left over of our clay and use a chopstick, which I've already started it for you, and use a chopstick, and I have hot glued a ball of aluminum foil on the chopstick so that it will be our armature. Remember, we talked about an armature today, and this armature is what we're going to put our clay on top of. So this time we're going to flatten it out a little bit like this. And I'm not going to take all of it, but I'm going to keep moving it around with my thumbs. I'm pressing with my thumbs. My hands look like this. So I'm pressing into this. If you've ever done a pinch pot at school with your art teacher, it's like doing a pinch pot. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing so that I can feel how thick it is, as you don't want to get it too thin. You want it to be maybe 1/4 inch thick, 1/2 inch thick, and it will just dry better. I noticed that my little guy there is not drying very well. So then you just take the palm of your hand and press into your armature. And your armature is just made out of aluminum foil that we balled up. And put the chopstick inside. And see how that just makes it so much easier. I should have done this before on mine. You get the benefit of my experimentation. Okay, so I'm pressing it down, and look, it's covering it all completely. Now, if it gets too thin, you can feel it with your hand. If it gets too thin, then you might need to add some more clay. So I'm going to put some more clay right there and just press it into it. And it actually, I think, is wet enough that it's just going to stick without me adding water to it. But if yours is a little drier than this, then you might want to take a wet finger and just put it between the 2 pieces so that it works. Okay, now you can kind of roll it back and forth with your hands like that to smooth it out. Okay. All right, I'm going to say this side is my face. All right, so now I'm going to take, and I want to make a nose. And so I want it to be an ugly nose. I want it to have humps in it, and like maybe you've heard old witches have ugly beak noses and have a wart on the end of it. So we want some nostrils. You know, those holes where you breathe. And the nose. And it seems to be sticking pretty well. Now, if yours doesn't stick, you can just take a wet brush and just put it, see, I can't even get it up. A wet brush and just wet it, and it'll make it stick. But I don't actually think I need to do that. Okay. In fact, I forgot to put mine in the refrigerator. So be sure that if you make more clay, that you put yours in the refrigerator. It keeps it better. And then when it's cold, it doesn't just kind of fall all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to use one of my craft sticks. To smooth this out some, because I don't want that line to be there. Okay, but I do want nostrils. See nostrils under there? And he can have a mouth that's just kind of open. And then he needs to have some eyes. Now you can use anything that you have around you to press into the clay. So I'm going to press this into it like this. So look at those eyes. And then I can like press this way and make places where the eyes are. I can also use my little stick and maybe pull it up a little and push and make an ear. And I can do that on the other side too. So if I put this behind it and then press against it, there's an ear. So there is my guy. All right, my little scepter. Okay, now I'm going to put him aside and he can dry, and I will work on him later. Now, if you want to keep this clay, you need to put it back in your plastic bag and close it up. Okay. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a skin color. And I'm going to use an orange, maybe, a bright color. And look how well that covers. If you remember yesterday when we were painting our finger puppets, the color was just really nice and just sinks right in. And I noticed I handled them afterwards, and it doesn't seem to rub off. So I think it soaks right into the flour. And as it dries, it just gets harder. Right now, this is a little bit soft, but it'll be fine for our class right now. And what we're going to do is decorate him so that if somebody was up on a throne and pretending to be the king and being funny, which a jester or a joker would, then he could have his own little scepter and it would have this face on it, but it would be very, very well dressed. Okay, now that side's okay. This side's still a little wet, but I'm still going to go ahead and paint it in, as we're going to put some stuff on him. Okay. All right, I'm going to lean him against my watercolor so that he doesn't get paint on everything. Okay. Now, I think he needs to have a hat, and I think you've seen Joker hats before, and this is just made out of ribbon, and the ribbon has wire in the edges, so see how it'll stay in place? So I just kind of curved it around and put a few dots of hot glue on it to keep it in place, and we're going to use this on him. And then I found this other ribbon that also has wire inside, and when I pulled the wire, it made it ruffle. So I'm thinking that if I put this around his neck, see how that'll pull up like this? And I'm thinking if I put this around his neck, that would be a cool ruffle that, you know, you used to see like William Shakespeare or I don't know who else, but old-timey looking stuff would have ruffles around their collars, or would have great big honeycomb kind of looking collars. So if I pick him up And he's still wet. You can see he's shiny. You need to be powdered. Okay, so then I can take this and just wrap it around. Take the end of that wire, and I'm going to pull it around my stick. And then I think I'm going to put that up above that, though, so it'll look a little better. And then wrap. If I pull it tighter, that would look better, wouldn't it? So if I wrap this wire around, and I can always turn this a little bit. Oh, cool. That's going to work well, isn't it? Okay. So I have these wires that I'll have to make sure that they're out of sight here in a minute. And if you're using the ribbon that has the wire in it, the wire is very thin. So I'm thinking we can probably cut it with a pair of scissors. Yep, it'll cut with a pair of scissors. So I'll wrap that around it. Oh, cool. And you'll just have to fix it so that it looks the way you want it to look. Okay, so that'll be nice. Okay, so what if we put his hat on him now? Okay, so I'm going to put it kind of at an angle like this. But before we do that, let's let him dry a little bit. And then I will take a marker and draw on his face a little bit. That seemed to work yesterday. So we'll make sure his eyes are visible. Now, if you draw on a wet thing, sometimes it messes up your marker. So just keep a paper towel here so you can just clean it off a little bit. And then this little part in here that I pressed down, make his eye. There's one eye. This side looked like it got bent. See how soft it still is? Yours, when you work on yours, will be much harder because you're going to let yours dry. And then if we push that little All right, now I can also have some tulle. Tulle you might have used on your Christmas tree. And you can put this around the bottom of it and just kind of wrap it around. It just makes it look a little more festive. Floaty, like there's magic floating around it. All right, that's pretty cool. And then the hat. We're going to put the hat on him. I'm going to get my hot glue gun here ready. And we'll put his hat up here. And we'll just take and put. Now, if you're using hot glue, then you probably ought to have an adult there, because we don't want you to burn yourself. So don't touch it with your fingers. It burns to the bone. Not a good thing. Okay, so we've got that there. Got it over here. And we'll turn it around here. All right. And then I think I want it to go like right there. So for a little, just for a minute, I'm going to stick this wire in it to hold it in place. And then I'm going to put a little dot of glue underneath there. And then use my craft stick to hold that down. And then take my wire out. There, so his hat kind of goes to the side like that. And remember, this was wire ribbon, so I can pull it up and shape it, turn it around. Okay, so far that's kind of cool looking, isn't it? Even if he isn't dry yet. Okay, now I had some jewels and some other things over here. You can get little jewels that have sticky on the back. See that little square there? And the little sticky, that will pull off, and then you can stick it on there. So I'm thinking, I don't think the red would show up so well on there. See what we have. He just doesn't want to stay where you can see him. I'll turn him that way. Does that work? Okay. Let's find a jewel that's not the red one. Oh, how about this big gold one? We'll put it right up there in the middle. And what I need to do is to pull it up, and I can use the edge of the scissors. So if you pull the edge off just a little bit, there's a sticky pad there. Well, I said there was, but maybe there's not. Oh, there it is. So when I pull that off, this little part right here is sticky. So what I'll do is I'll take and stick this on the front of our hat. Aha. Now he's beginning to look kingly, isn't he? All right, so I could continue. I could put some string on it and wrap the string around. I could hang some of these little jewels off of it. I could put some of these little jewels on his collar there. And then if he had a joker, if he was the joker of the kingdom, or the jester of the kingdom, then he could walk around with his little scepter, and he would just be something else, wouldn't he? So there we are.